Greetings and welcome. I mentioned in my last video that my son's 10th stadium was Rate Field. Today, I thought I'd go back one stadium and talk about his 9th, Wrigley Field. And also show off some of my Cubs autographed baseballs. Now, I'm a Cardinals fan, so there's a decent chance I accidentally say something offensive about the Cubs during this video. And my apologies in advance to Vintage Card Steve, David M., Basement Card Collector, and any other Cubs fan who may be watching. But there was a reason we specifically picked this game, and it was because the Cubs were playing the Blue Jays. Last year, the two stadiums we visited were Detroit and Toronto. In Toronto, we got to see the Blue Jays play the Yankees, with Max Scherzer starting for Toronto. This was special for me as I thought it'd be the last time I ever see Scherzer in person. But the Yankees had a 2-1 lead when Vladimir Guerrero Jr. came up with the bases loaded and delivered a go-ahead base-clearing double to put Toronto ahead. The Blue Jays held on, and that moment turned my son into a Vlad Jr. fan. So, when we started planning this year's stadium trip, we wanted to find another opportunity to see Vlad in person. I've been to Wrigley several times, but this was my kid's first visit. We took the Red Line into Wrigleyville, and we got there early so we could take everything in. And we did get the full Wrigley Field experience. The Cubs blew a 5-run lead and ended up losing. And we stopped at Murphy's Bleachers. We saw Pete Crow Armstrong arrive at the ballpark. And even got to see the Blue Jays rookies making their coffee run, which was really cool. But I know he's having a down year, but once again, Vlad delivered. The Blue Jays were down 5 runs in the top of the 7th when Vlad led off the inning with a single that eventually helped set up a Dalton Varsho's 3-run homer, cutting the Cubs' lead to 5-3. Then in the following inning, Vlad came up again with another single, this time driving in the game-tying run that set the stage for Okamoto's 3-run homer to cap off a 5-run 8th inning and complete the comeback. So we've seen Vlad Jr. in person twice, and both times we've seen him come through in the late innings. A go-ahead bases-clearing double in Toronto and a game-tying RBI single at Wrigley. But let's start talking about some of the autographs. And my background for this episode is autographed baseballs of Dennis Eckersley, Bruce Sutter, Fred McGriff, and Goose Gossage. They've all played for the Cubs, although they're in the Hall of Fame with different hats. But the first Cub I'm going to show, it's going to be Lee Smith. I got this at a Cardinals event years ago before he went into the Hall of Fame. And the second one I will show is, and in my opinion, has the prettiest autograph of them all, and it's Andre Dawson. And special shout out to Basement Card Collector on this one. Dawson came to my town for a baseball clinic, and the company sponsoring the clinic brought him in for a dinner the night before. And somehow I managed to get myself into that dinner. Dawson signed for everyone and spent some time telling stories from his career, and including some absolutely hilarious stories about his experiences in the mortuary business. The next day, my son attended the clinic and ended up in Dawson's hitting group. And after the clinic, Dawson signed a baseball for each kid and spent some time talking baseball with them, which was a really nice experience for him. Next, and this is a shout out to David M., Diego, Vintage Card Steve, and it's my Sandberg auto. And I'm not a Cubs fan, but Sandberg and Mark Grace are two of my favorite Cubs players that I watched. I'm big fans of theirs and grew up watching them on WGN like so many of us did. They were the enemy, but I did like them. And it's still kind of hard for me to believe Sandberg's gone. And Sandberg did so much TTM, but I ended up getting this one in person, mostly because I just wanted to meet him. And this was another that he came through my city. It would have been 2017 because the Cubs did a tour of parts of Illinois that spring after they won the World Series. Some of their former players would stop off at locations throughout the state with the trophy, and I think Rick Sutcliffe was with him during this one. Next up is one I've had a little bit longer, and it's Ron Santo. I got this one probably in the mid-2000s. For several years, one of our local hospitals hosted a men's night out where they would bring in former athletes and celebrities to talk about men's health. One year, Ron Santo and Tommy John were the guests. I was able to get them both to sign a baseball, though I'll show the Tommy John ball in another video. I used to go with these events with my dad, my uncle, and my cousins, and my uncle had type 1 diabetes, just like Santo did. And the two of them kind of connected over that. I wouldn't say they became friends, but they became very friendly with each other. In the years that followed, whenever my uncle would run into Santo at another event, Santo would remember him by name and usually stop to talk to him for a while. My uncle passed in 2009, and Santo passed away the following year in 2010. And in Santo's Hall of Fame induction, that came after his death. His wife accepted the plaque on his behalf. And in her speech, she talked about his devotion to people living with diabetes. And that's a side of Santo that I had the privilege of seeing firsthand. And my last one I'm going to show, it is Mr. Cub himself, Ernie Banks. I got this when I was in 7th grade. And I wouldn't say the town where I grew up was a massive sports town, but we've had quite a few high school athletes go on to play professionally across a number of different sports. And every year, the city holds a Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And this particular year, Ernie Banks was the master of ceremonies. My dad took me because, it's Ernie Banks, and when else are we going to see Ernie Banks? And I was able to get this ball signed from him, which was pretty cool because he even inscribed, if I get my thumb out of the way, Mr. Cub on the bottom. I don't remember a whole lot about that speech he gave that night, but I do remember one of the big themes was never grow up. But there you have it. I'm a Cardinals fan, but I do respect the Cubs and a lot of their players, and I proudly showcase some of them in my collection. Thank you for watching, and enjoy your collection.